In this video, I'm going to explain why this lady failed her driving test. So we can see here, there's a lot of marks on that sheet. So we see the grade ones or the greens. You can fill that sheet full of grade ones. It wouldn't matter to the end result. Next, we see the blues or the grade twos. If you get 9 or more of them, it's a fail. So we can see there's probably about 20 there. So that's a fail. There's probably 2 fails in that. Also, see the section for observation and vehicle controls. If you get 6 marks under the same heading, that's also a fail. So for observation, she got 10 marks. So 6 or more is a fail. Also, we see the way she got 4 marks for observation turning right. If you get 4 marks for the same thing, that's also a fail. So she got 4 for turning right, 4 for reaction to hazards. So as we can see, there's about 6 or more fails there. We also see 2 grade 3s or the red marks. If you get one of them and everything else is perfect, you will still fail. So I'm going to go through the switching now. Everything I do say, I will leave videos below in the description. So we see here she got 2 grade 1s for rules and checks. That means she didn't know her signs and questions correctly. She got most of them right, but the tester felt she got a few of them wrong as well. If you get 3 or more wrong, that would have been a grade 2. Next, we see 2 grade 2s for position turning right. This is so common. It just means that she wasn't driving in a straight line up to the turn, just left of the centre line, or steering too early and cutting the corner, or steering too late and swan necking the turn. Next, we see a grade 2 for position turning left. Usually that just means she was too wide taking a left turn. Next, we see a grade 3 for position stopping. Usually, when you get that, when you hit the path. Next, we see a grade 2 for observation moving off. This simply means she didn't check her blind spot moving off, or she did and she pulled out in front of a car, or she signaled when there was a car coming. There's a few reasons why you could get marked for that. Gosho, just remember Gosho. Observation change in lanes, so she either didn't check her blind spot and moved, or she did do all the correct observation and there's a car coming up behind her and she pulled out in front of them twice. So again, a few reasons for that. Now, 4 grade 2s for observation turning right. Usually what people do there is they're not looking where they're going. If you're turning right down a side road, make sure you're looking where you're going. A lot of people are still looking ahead, trying to drive down this way, driving like this. Or there was a car coming, the tester felt she should have waited, but she continued to pull out in front of them. 4 times, there was a lot happening there. Now, next observation, turning left. So again, just not looking where you're going. A lot of time I see people doing that. They're turning left and they're looking over their right shoulder. Just remember, look where you're going. It's the most important thing. Next, we see she got 4 grade 2s for reaction to hazards. This is a very common mistake, especially when you don't really know what the tester is looking for. There's so many reasons why that could have happened, and I'm going to leave a video below in the description. Just remember, if you want to book pre-tests or mock tests or lessons with us, click the link in the description and fill out the form. Next, we see mirrors stopping. So usually when people pulling at the side of the road, they're supposed to mirror, signal, move in, straighten up and stop. Below that, we see signal stopping. So that probably meant you didn't mirror and signal once she was asked to pull in. Usually it happens after the turnabout. After the turnabout, if you're asked to pull in and stop, make sure you still mirror, signal, in and stop. Below that, we see signals misleading. That could be a few things. She probably had her signal on driving down a straight road, or there was a right turn there and she had her signal on and it looked like she was turning and she continued straight. Next, we see a grade 2 for progress turning left. So that was probably at a T junction. She wanted to turn left. The tester felt, yeah, it was safe to go, just continue on. And she stopped, had another look, or she was turning left into a side road and it was just too slow. Next, we see she got 6 marks on her vehicle controls. So we got 1 for clutch, could have been coasting or just unnecessarily clutching. We got 1 for gears, being in the wrong gear for what you were doing. It could have been moving off in third, or taking a corner in third, or just being in the wrong gear. Now she got 3 marks for foot brakes, should I say. Usually that just means she was either too harsh on the brake. Next, we see a mark for steering. It's unusual you see this. Usually people get marked for that as if they're, when they steer and they let the wheel spin in their hand, but they catch it and the wheel and it kind of jerks. or the wheel slipped over her hand a little bit. So it's unusual to see that one. Next, we see traffic controls and cycle lanes. I've never seen a mark for this before. So she must have been driving in a cycle lane with a continuous white line. That's the only thing I can think of there. Next, we see she failed a test for competency. She got a grade 3 for reverse around the corner. Now, when I was speaking to her, she did tell me that she done the reverse early and she knew she made a mess of it, and that's why everything else fell apart. So competency means can you do it correctly, keeping it reasonably close to the footpath and making sure you do it not too slow, just at a reasonable speed, reasonably close to the footpath. So I remember she told me she went way too wide, and that's a grade 3. She also got 2 grade 2s for observation on the reverse around the corner. It's unusual you see 2 marks for that. So it was probably on 2 different scenarios where there was either a car coming from behind and she continued to reverse as the car was coming, or it could have been a pedestrian was crossing the road behind her and she was continuing to reverse as the pedestrian was crossing the road. Few reasons for that. Turnabout, she got a grade 2 for competency. You can do it in 3, 5, or 7 moves. So for competency, it must have just been a little bit messy. And last but not least, she got a grade 2 for parking competency. That was probably tying in with parking where she got the grade 3 for position stopping. So maybe that's linked with that, possibly. Or another time when she was parking, she was maybe come back to the test centre, she was straddling 2 lanes. It could be for a few different things. So I hope that clears up a few things. If you want me to rate your marking sheet, please feel free to fire it over. And again, if you want to book lessons with us and pass your driving test, click the link in the description and fill out the form.